Hello to all and welcome. I'm Joe, here with Miss Mako Stan.
Hello and greetings.
And we're reviewing the next episode of Cobra Kai, which is a semi-infamous one. We've got Johnny who shows up to pick a fight with Danny over the burnt car. Amanda, in this episode, to her credit, at least when it comes to Danny, is absolutely correct. And even with Sam to an extent. We'll get to that in a minute. Like, we're not questioning her decision to ground Sam. It's just there's layers there that need to be discussed. But with Danny, she's right when she tells him, just get him out of our lives. Get him out of your life forever. Just give him a car. That's a small price to pay to get rid of one jerk. And she's right. But the trouble is, as the day is progressing, Danny, to his frustration and embarrassment, is finding that he actually likes Johnny. So that in the car, they agree on music. They then end up at a pub. And, well, first they visit Danny's old apartment. And, sort of, they discuss things there. Then they end up at the pub. And then they end up discussing karate teachers and how both of them were looking for father figures. And the discussion is lighthearted to an extent. Or at least Danny tries to keep it lighthearted. Until Johnny mentions, at least yours never tried to kill you. Well, never broke your trophy, your second place trophy, and tried to murder you. And Danny goes, true, with a look in his eyes like, yeah, okay, fair. Where that kind of sobered up Danny in a way. Then he calls for booze because he's going, I don't want to think about that. And you can hardly blame Danny for kind of feeling like, ooh, that's not a topic I did not want to bring that up. He's been very careful and very respectful in that regard. Never bring it up. But it's Johnny who brought up the elephant in the room because, well, you know, as someone who commented on our first Karate Kid video said, Kreese is basically a narcissist. And yes, that is very much the case. Danny is apprehensive about the topic, as I said. So, yeah, it's no wonder this is not a comfortable topic. Meanwhile, the teen drama, oh, good heavens. The teen drama is starting to get out of hand because Miguel is doing as our fairly semi-English mother tends to call it, the icy angry Frenchman treatment, where you just shut down everything and you just become ice cold like the colder than you become colder than permafrost. The thing is,
you become cold, you give short, curt answers,
and you just look at the person like they're dead to you, which we're familiar with that. We've done it when we're angry with someone and we don't like someone.
We've done it to each other.
Growing up, yes. But I don't think we've done it in the past, 5-6 years now.
No.
We've both mellowed out. But as kids and teenagers, we always did it. It drove our family bonkers. But, but the thing is here, Miguel, the thing about the Spanish is they have hotter tempers than the French. The French have ice cold tempers. Nous sommes plutôt comme la glace. We're more like ice than fire. Whereas the Spanish are more like fire, and that's very attractive in regards to them, that they're so passionate. But Miguel's channeling something that does not seem like the stereotype of the Spanish and is very cold. This is where she's really, really weird and very, very dumb. She ends up confused by this treatment because, well, she's cheating on Miguel, and she's confused by Miguel's anger and suspicion towards her. So her response is to double down on not allowing him near her home, where she has a boyfriend on the side. And then she ends up clearly wondering why Miguel just decides to walk away from her. Later, Miguel invites her to that party, although her phone is taken away from her because Johnny let slip that it was Sam who busted up his original car. So that, well, Amanda decides that, as she put it, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm grounding you, which the way it's said makes it clear that she's never grounded or punished Samantha before, and she's never allowed Danny to discipline his daughter. The thing about kids is they do need discipline. I'm not saying you should beat your children, just that you should occasionally smack them around, as Bender put it. I'm joking. No, don't beat your kids. But it's just, you do need to discipline them. You do need to ground them when they do wrong. You, as the parent, are not their buddy. You're their authority figure. When they grow up and they become full-grown adults, then you're their buddy. But until they're like between 20 and 25 years old, you are not their buddy. You're their boss. And that's where I just find the statement by Amanda, oh, I can't believe I have to ground you, a little perplexing. It's like, no, that's perfectly natural to do that to your kids. Why are you shocked at the notion of grounding your kids? That said, she denies Sam her phone, but Sam gets around her by accessing Robbie's phone. I think that's how it works. And yeah, but the end, she does give occasional concessions. She's really not good at grounding her daughter for even a day. It should be for a month, but I think Amanda's going to crack by the next day. Like, you should have ground her when she was younger so that you can get practice in. But that said, the problem is, meanwhile at the party, Yasmin shows up because, she wanted to go have a birthday celebration on the beach. And Aisha decided to hit the beach first. Yasmin kind of has this coming. That said, we have Moon, who's very taken with Hawk, and so starts making out with him, which is one of the funniest scenes of this episode. Maybe even the funniest. Because Moon was one of the people laughing at and mocking Eli in earlier episodes, and looking the other way as Yasmin was really catty towards Eli. Now she's basically making googly eyes at him and making out with him, which is pretty funny. And Hawk gives Dimitri some advice about how you got to feel the energy and just live in the moment sometimes, which is good advice, but Hawk takes it too far later. As for Aisha, on her end, she ends up going, I think, a little too far with the reverse wedgie. And she physically assaults Yasmin, and I understand that a lot of people are going, she had to find a way to defend herself and put Yasmin in her place. Totally agree. But I have a hard time distinguishing between Aisha's actions and Johnny's, to an extent, with Danny at a few points in Karate Kid 1. Yeah, I know Johnny was the bully, but Danny kind of got smarmy with Johnny a few times in turn. And here, I'm seeing a similar vibe, and I'm just... I just don't agree with, leaving someone on the ground pretty much sobbing in pain, as was done to Danny and Yasmin. So I guess I kind of regard it as that went too far. On the other hand, Danny was intervening between Johnny and Allie's argument, just as Aisha was tired of Yasmin's constant harassment and bullying. And Yasmin went too far way earlier when she said go and die via email and online. That's going too far. So gotta disagree with both characters to an extent. But we're also dealing with children here, so...
All this teen drama, you have the Robbie, Miguel, and Sam thing.
Now, Miguel drunkenly hits Sam, which... It's as bad as it sounds, and no excuses. No, there is no excusing Miguel's behavior there. Miguel was stupid. At that point, he lost all moral high ground. The only thing I'm going to say, though, is that Sam's no innocent because she brought her... Okay, if we put it in another context, there will, no matter what, be an emotional reaction. Like if let's say a guy brought his mistress to meet his wife, and then he's going, why are you so angry at his wife? This is just a woman I'm sleeping with. How do you think the wife is going to react? She's going to freak out and go, no, I didn't agree to that. And you've got the mistress who's then going, guess what? I guess I'm moving in now. The thing is, in some ways, this is a similar situation to the Diary of a Mad Black Woman movie, where the one lawyer brings his mistress, whom he has kids with, to his mansion, which he shares with his wife. So, in that regard, it's a similar situation. Although, that said, Miguel loses all moral high ground when he hits Sam.
You've got all this teen drama, Aisha, Yasmin, all of this, and you throw in some alcohol.
Yeah, no matter what, it's going to end up in violence. And I think even Aisha was a little tipsy.
It's like teenage hormones plus alcoholism.
That is not a good mix. And this is why we have laws about minors drinking booze. Yeah. But on the other hand, if you observe closely, Sam and Robbie, as they're arriving at the beach, are holding hands at their arrival, which only means one thing. They're dating. And the trouble is, she then tries to introduce him to Miguel, who gets angry and hurt, and just says, wait, what about us? And Robbie tries to interpose himself and essentially mock Miguel and hold it over him. So, of course, Miguel gets angry there. So, in that regard, the fans who look at it from Miguel's point of view do have an argument to be made that Sam's completely at fault. She's like Allie, except in some ways worst. Now, I'm going to say she's worse because Allie, sure, she got physically violent with Johnny to an extent, but Johnny did force a kiss on Allie at the end of Karate Kid, at that celebration. I'm just saying, Johnny did do something wrong there. That was wrong. And the thing with Johnny was, yeah, Allie was more in the wrong, but here's... The difference is that Sam interposed herself as well physically between Robbie and Miguel. And, well, like I said, there's no excuse for Miguel's behavior whatsoever. Sam goaded him and pushed him towards getting physical and whatnot. And she got forewarning when she last spoke to Miguel that he was angry and hurt. Whereas, and the difference is, Johnny was no boy next door by the time of Karate Kid 1. He was a bully. By nature, he was a bully. So Allie kind of getting a little cold feet about that, I kind of get it. On the other hand, with Sam, Miguel was the boy next door, was charming and whatnot, but nice guys finished last, and Sam wanted her bad boy. And you got to bear in mind, you also had her probably thinking Robbie would be a better match with her family. So I guess what she was probably thinking was that she could present Robbie as her boyfriend to her family, but then in private she could have fun with Miguel. This turns her into, well, a jerk. A certain kind of jerk. And we're not going to say it because of YouTube. But the difference is that, to an extent, Allie never took Danny too seriously as a boyfriend. And always had the intention of moving on to another guy. It's Danny who got Danny's hopes up. And I'm not judging Danny there. No. He was a guy. He was a boy in love. It was not his fault. It was one-sided. Just as with Johnny, it was one-sided eventually. So, it's just a matter that, whereas with Miguel, Sam clearly likes Miguel a lot more, but has decided she wants to have fun with Robbie. On Robbie's end, he's very emotionally manipulative. He's a vampire.
He's good at those cute little puppy eyes.
And with his words, he uses his words really well. He's very seductive. He's very vampiric. He sucks the life out of people around him because he is a toxic person at this time in universe. And so when it's not bad enough that he caused one breakup, Johnny and Danny have decided to honor Rocky 3 by having that kind of fight between themselves. Get all the rivalry out of their system and just have one all-out fight. And they're both looking forward to it with Johnny going, yes! And they're going to do it in the Miyagi Dojo in front of Mr. Miyagi in order to honor him by burying the hatchet in front of him and fighting it out before his picture, which I think there's a beautiful idea there, and it would be very fitting. But Johnny then catches sight of Robbie, is shocked and hurt. Danny says, well, here's my student. Not knowing the relation, Johnny pushes Danny, breaking the trophy, which I don't like that. I wish they didn't have the number 1 trophy from Karate Kid 1 broken, but okay. It gets broken. Robbie intercedes, and Johnny walks away hurt and bitter, and thinking that Danny had done this on purpose. Danny, once he realizes that Robbie is Johnny's son, picks up on the fact that Robbie planned all this, manipulated all this just to hurt his dad. And Danny goes, wait, you mean you came into Miyagi-Do, you came to me just to hurt your dad? Get out. No, I'm not. You obviously did not come into Miyagi-Do to learn the lessons. You came to hurt and break a man. No, that's not what I believe in. Get out.
I was about to put a chapter of my life behind me and make peace, and you just threw all that out the window. An entire day of diplomacy gone.
Yeah. And it was Robbie's intention. But what Robbie did not expect was to be chucked. Where Danny just tells him, get up. No, no, no. You're not allowed in my home. And this might sound weird, but I think Danny should have stuck to that decision.
I agree.
Because by taking in Robbie at the end of season 1, the trouble is Danny is cementing in a rather Terry Silver style that, yes, he is okay with Robbie's scheme to hurt Johnny. That's what it becomes about. It's not about doing the right thing by Robbie. It's about hurting Johnny. And I know some people are going to say, no, he's trying to help Robbie. No, he's not. If he was trying to help Robbie, he would be trying to mediate between father and son. But he doesn't do that. So that it becomes not about Robbie and Johnny, but about Danny and Johnny. Basically, Danny falls into the trap of Robbie. And I hate that. And the problem is that Danny is surrounded by manipulative people. And he's used to that, I guess. In a way, I guess you could say in this episode, Danny's an abuse victim who's seeking what's familiar. Well, maybe not in this episode, but the next few episodes, I should say. But the thing is, Robbie is so freaking manipulative here. And this might sound weird, but Sam kissing Miguel behind Robbie's back, I have zero compassion for Robbie. He totally deserves all the hurt he felt at the end of season 2. No, he does look hurt. He is hurt. But you know what? He's a con artist. I'm just saying he is a con artist. He conned Miguel and Sam. He conned his dad. He conned Danny. He's a con artist. But this is where he needed to meet Silver and Kenny because he needed to realize how far it can go. In essence, I guess you could say that as an archetype, it might sound weird, but I don't know if Robbie is really I don't know if he's really the shadow warrior, the grandstanding bully archetype. He seems to me more like a child version of the deceiving one. The deceiving magician archetype. Like a child version.
That would match him pretty well, because I was going to mention a shadow trickster.
That's basically what he is. Yeah.
Because he does this in order to cause pain, to get even with people.
Yeah.
Which, Johnny and Danny, back in Karate Kid 1, yeah, it was getting even with each other, but wasn't weaseling into each other's lives to just try and cause as much pain as possible.
Yeah.
It was the dousing the other guy in water at...
Which is pretty funny in some ways. It was... like, the thing is, at the same time, Johnny was the guy who went, all right, Danny, here, you won. Handed him the trophy at the end of Karate Kid 1. They didn't like each other, but they had respect enough for each other. This is turning them to actual enemies. Because Danny's now the guy who's stealing Johnny's son from him, in a way. Danny does not want to do that in this episode, and did not realize this was what Robbie was trying to put him in the position of. in turn, I'm going to say this might sound weird, Robbie did not enter into the relationship with Sam out of good intention. I think he knew to an extent that she had a boyfriend. It makes him sound like a stalker because he is a stalker. He stalked Danny. He stalked Amanda. And he would have overheard about Sam. And the thing is, I think he did intercede into that relationship with the deliberate goal of stealing Sam away. But you got to bear in mind, this is a guy who's essentially operating like a sociopath. If he can marry Sam or get in her good graces, he's basically prospective son-in-law to Danny. And so he can then use that also for another thing. His father doesn't like the LaRussos. I think his objective was to basically become a LaRusso in a way in order to basically get rich quick, but hold it over his bum dad.
And then there's Miguel. Sam is Miguel's girlfriend.
Yeah. It also hurts Miguel, who's Johnny's, essentially his adoptive son. Which, this might sound weird, but Sid, I don't think could have planned a better revenge. I don't think Sid would have imagined this sort of thing. He enjoyed it later in season 3, but he didn't dream this up. Weirdly, I don't think Kreese would have dreamed this up. This seems a lot more complex than what that idiot can think of, because Kreese is not a very bright person by nature. This is more something Terry Silver would do. Although Terry Silver would just applaud and go, good work.
I didn't need to do anything for this.
But, now, of the original cast of the Karate Kid movies, Robbie's lucky he's dealing with Danny. Danny just threw him out, or Johnny, who just walked away. Mike Barnes would have punched him. Chosen would have disowned him and thrown him out on the streets. That's what Chosen would have done, because there's that traditional Japanese male patriarchal family structure. And the thing about the Japanese, you do this sort of psychopathic thing, you commit these level of sins, you have to pay consequences for at least a year or something. Like, although Japanese families don't usually disown their family members, from what I understand it, but that's mostly in cinema. But they do have, their families do hold it, like, they do have the mindset, if you screw up or hurt people to this extent, you're disowned.
And if two rival clans were about to make peace after...
Oh, yeah. Well, you look at the Yakuza. But, anyways, let's rate this episode. I'm going to actually say this episode's a 2 3/4. I really like this episode.
A 3.
It's a solid episode. You obviously enjoyed it more than me for the drama and whatnot and the setup.
We see some things are getting resolved, but we also see other problems that need to be resolved.
I guess in the context of season 1, Robbie's the villain, which makes it a very interesting series in that Johnny's the hero, but his own son is the villain. That's very interesting. Season 2, though, there's a new villain, Kreese. Robbie's still sort of the villain, like junior villain. Then season 3, I'd argue it's almost more Tori and Kreese. And Tori's bonkers, like, wow. But her actress is so talented and skilled she should play more villain roles. She's so good at it. Although I would like her as an adult to do one heroic role, because I think that villain actors and actresses who do well in a villain role need to at least do 1 or 2 heroic roles, just to show that they can do that. Otherwise, to get trapped in the role, so to speak. You look at Christopher Lee, people love him as Dracula. I like him more in The Devil Rides Out and in heroic roles because he's able to convey more and he's able to bring that gravitas of his villain roles to his heroic ones. So, yeah. Anyways, tell us what you think of this video and this episode. And don't forget to kick that like and that subscribe button.